Have you ever tried Cobra Wedges? We have in hand today the King Cobra with SnakeBite technology wedge. Getting an opportunity to hit some shots in the hitting bay here, and curious to see if you've ever hit them before and what your expectations are. Leave that in the comment section before we even get started, and then once you've had a chance to watch the video, maybe that perspective changes a little bit. I want to dive into a couple of the design features. Obviously it is a wedge, so the technology is very visible, nothing crazy going on inside. They have a number of different grind options. Right here we have the versatile. It also comes in the wide low and a classic shape. So in this case, versatile, you can see it on the top line. It also has a cutout, otherwise known as a scallop. This supports that sort of integration into the ground, possibly getting the head a little bit lower, eliminating some of that material, so when you're around the green it could save you from a big mistake. I want to talk a little bit about the SnakeBite technology, and that has everything to do with their grooving section. This is all about tighter tolerances at the manufacturing level to make sure that you're getting the exact wedge you want. And this is all about changing the tool more frequently to make sure those grooves are very tight. What I really think is cool is they have this sort of progressive face milling or groove design where you go in the stronger lofted wedges, so your 48, your 50, your 52, and 54, they actually do not have the full face milling or full face grooves. When you move in past the 54, they extend those to the toe, so it presents a little bit of a different profile, and definitely something that I'm fascinated by, and that's exactly what I would do personally if I had these wedges in the bag. I would want that progression, because obviously with a 54 or a 50 in my bag, I do not want to be hitting the ball out here. When it comes into the 58, get around the green, you absolutely want a little bit of that support. I think at this point, we're going to head into the hitting bay. Most curious thing for me, how do these wedges sound? Again, you want to talk a little bit about it in the comments. Let us know what you think the sound's going to be like. If you've hit them in the past, do you think it's going to sound the same, different? What are your expectations going in? We're going to head to hitting bay, hit a few shots, and then talk through them. And welcome to the hitting bay with King Cobra SnakeBite wedges. These are definitely an interesting take on what we've seen in the past from Cobra. There's some familiarity with what is essentially a cutout in the back, or a scallop as some would like to call it, and some interesting new groove technology. What we're going to do here is hit a few shots and then maybe talk through some of the tech that's going into it, the design features, and then take a look at the data. Let's get right at it. Little pull on the first one. I usually get a little too excited for you guys. First things first, and this is something that Josh and I have been talking about while warming up. They do have a nice profile in the sound. Very pleasing, very what I would call kind of wedge neutral. There's not a lot of uniqueness to it, and I think that is a very good thing for the folks out there just trying to find another wedge for their game that really works for them without seeing significant changes in the sound that they're familiar with. I think sometimes being a little bit more uniform is a good thing. So let's hit another one. Couple pretty good strikes there. One of the things I really want to talk about is their milling presentation. Now, SnakeBite is all about tolerances, tighter tolerances from the manufacturing process, which means more consistent and better groove profiles for everyone out there who are buying the wedges. It is a nearly full face, arguably full face mill, with actually a pretty cool like inner milling profile to it that I think looks neat. It's more circular and definitely stands out from others. So let's hit another one here and maybe talk a bit about data. Yeah, I like this. I'm kind of going after it. This is a 58 degree, maybe 57. I can't remember what we finished bending it to in the back. We have some good numbers overall. somewhere between that 11,000 and 12,000 RPMs a spin. I think that's more or less what I'm looking for in that range. I'm also very, very cautiously reviewing the carry total. I definitely want somewhere between 95 and 100 yards with this loft, and I'm absolutely nailing it. Last 3 swings have been good. I kind of pulled, and obviously not very much because it's still hitting the green. I kind of took over on the left side on the last 2, so we'll hit 1 more, maybe 2 more. All right. This looks pretty good. A little heavier than the other ones, but the spin numbers are actually quite similar, right in that 95-degree carry range. I like the turf interaction. Obviously, this cutout's going to have an impact there. If you look down the line at it, you can see it might sit a little bit lower at address. This can support that ability to just get the club head into the ground or avoid digging too hard, which obviously helps those out there who are possibly less than perfect at their wedge game, which I've never met anyone who struggles with wedges, so that's great. All right, 1 more here. All right, I actually clipped this one pretty good, so I would suspect that we're going to see some decently similar numbers from the other one. However, I like that. I like that about a 4-yard difference when I get a little heavy on it and when I get a little lower on the face. So I think the best thing to do right now is to go to the table view, take a look at the differences between the swings, and talk a little bit more about King Cobra wedges with SnakeBite Tech. So we're in table view now, talking about the King Cobra wedges with SnakeBite technology. I did disable the one I had mentioned that I hit a little bit heavy, and I'm doing that purely because I want to see consistency on my best strikes and see, being that a wedge is not all that forgiving, I wanted to see how tight I could make those numbers. And as we look starting out at the ball speed, I have a deviation of 0.6, and I think anyone in a scoring iron or scoring wedge wants to be very, very tight in those numbers when they're out there trying to hit greens, trying to hit it tight to pins. I think 0.6 is a phenomenal number considering the fact that we did hit one a little thin, one a little bit heavy. Now I eliminated the heavy, but I left the thin in there, which I thought was really interesting. Moving into backspin, 11,000 to 12,000 with the ball we were using is very much in line with what I'm looking for. Promotes a lot of that ground engagement when it lands on the green, and having that consistency to be within about 300 RPMs a spin with a 58, very much a scoring wedge for me, is exactly what I'm looking for. Similar to the offline, I had what I would say was 6 very good swings there. Obviously we had a couple that were within 5 feet of the pin, which is fantastic, but then it comes down to how consistent were we on line. As you can see, I had it controlled very nicely with only 2.2 yards of deviation. And then you look at the peak yards, the carry yards, the total yards, 0, 0, and 1 yard of deviation. That is fantastic for me. I do want to circle back really quickly and talk about the sound. We're talking here in the Tech Studio saying that it really does have that nice, true, dense wedge profile sound. Obviously, this could change depending on the stylation they use, like a finish or something like that. But for this design feature in the club that we have, this SnakeBite technology wedge, it is very much a sound that we're looking for in a wedge, and I'm very happy to say that. If you have a chance to go hit them for yourself, we'd love to hear your feedback, whether it's in the comment section below or on THP socials. And do make sure to give us a like if you enjoyed the video. We'll have a lot more content coming like this in the future, as well as already on our page.